Hello folks, this is Ty Hungerford, this is Alternate Health, and today we have something super special. We have an amazing, beautiful man, Bruce Lipton's here with us today. He wrote these two wonderful books, The Biology of Belief, this is a bestseller, and his latest book, The Honeymoon Effect. Folks, if you read these books, they will empower every aspect of your life on a cellular level, onto what you produce, what money, the love, and everything you have. If you really digest these books and go through, and he's got all these different healing modalities, take it on board, work on your subconscious, get the negative energy out of your body, and these will actually totally change your life. Bruce, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Ty, thank you so much for this opportunity. I so appreciate everything you guys are doing and changing our world for the better, so thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you. So we've got a few questions for you today, obviously, Bruce. The first one, say if someone hasn't read these books,
yes,
and maybe they haven't come to that point where they realize they are a co-creator in this magnificent life of ours, where's a nice place for them to start, like a good starting point?
Well, the first thing is to really understand that we've been programmed. And, you know, most people see the movie The Matrix.
Yeah.
And you think, well, The Matrix is a science fiction movie, but it's actually a documentary. And that the issue is that our lives are really coming from the program and not from our deepest wishes and desires. So once we understand the difference between the programming and our conscious mind, which is really where we live, then we begin to take an opportunity to let go of the program and start to live from your deepest wishes, desires, and aspirations. And you can change your life instantaneously with this process.
Wow.
So this is it. I mean, I was teaching in a medical school.
Yeah.
And I was teaching the concept about genes, and everyone, of course, has heard about genes, and they believe that genes control their lives, you know. So running in my family is diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever it is, and they say, oh my goodness, I'm a recipient of such genes, and this is going to be my life. And this is a belief of victimization of heredity. It's running in my heredity, and I'm going to get these genes, and I can't control it. There's a new biology that switches this whole thing around, because it reveals that genes don't control our lives. It's our perceptions and our response to the environment. It's the environment that influences the genes. Well, the relevance about that is, since we can change our perceptions and we can change our environment, then we're not victims, we're actually masters. But we have to know that. We have to really come from an understanding that we are creating our lives, because if your belief is you're a victim, its belief is translated into biology. You become a victim if that's what you believe.
Yes, sir. So you kind of proved scientifically and biologically that the proof of that we in fact are in control of our genes, that our genes aren't controlling our lives. Can you give us a brief sort of bird's eye view of how you proved that, Bruce?
Yeah, it's a wonderful, simple experiment. About 47 years ago, I was cloning stem cells. Now, about 47 years ago, there's only a handful of us in the whole world even knew what a stem cell is. A stem cell is an embryonic cell in your body. And the reason why we have all these embryonic cells is because cells have a life and they die. And if we can't replace the cells, then it won't be very long before all our cells die and then we're gone. So a stem cell is a multi-potential embryonic cell. Here's the work, simple. I get one stem cell, put it in a dish by itself, and it divides every 10 hours. So first 1, and then 2, 4, 8, 16, and the cells keep going. After a week, I've got 50,000 cells in the Petri dish. But here's the most important point. They all came from one parent. So there are 50,000 genetically identical cells. Okay, now here's the experiment.
Yeah.
I take that community and I break them up into 3 different Petri dishes, and I change the environment a little bit in each dish. Now, cells are like fish. They live in a fluid, so I create like an aquarium with all the things they need to live in it. That's called the environment. And I change the composition of the environment a little bit in each dish, okay? What happens is, in dish 1, I get muscle cells. In dish 2, I end up with a different environment, get bone cells. In dish 3, yet a different environment, I end up with fat cells. Well, the whole point was this: what controls the fate of the cells? And you say, well, genetics. I go, no. They were all genetically the same.
Yes.
So the fate of the cell wasn't determined by the genetics, it was determined by the environment, okay? And so the information in the environment is really what's involved with selecting our genes. So people say, well, okay, that's really nice. You got cells in a plastic dish. What the heck does that have to do with me? And I go, well, here's the fun part. You look in the mirror, Ty, you see this handsome guy looking back, you say, that's Ty, that's me, and I'm a single human being, a single organism. I go, a slight misperception for this reason. You are not a single entity. You are made out of 50 trillion cells. The cells are the living entity. You, by actual biological definition, you're a community. So you're a community of 50 trillion cells. And so the fun part is you're a skin-covered petri dish with 50 trillion cells inside. And you have an environment, a culture medium, and it's called blood. And the chemical composition of the blood determines the fate of the cells. That's what happened in my plastic dish. So to a cell, does it make a difference if it's in the plastic dish or the skin dish? No, it's still going to read the environment. So I say, then the blood is the culture medium, and the composition of the blood controls the genetics. And then I go, now here's the cool part. I say, but as I showed in the Petri dish, if I change the composition of the culture medium, I change the fate of the cells. So I say, well, who or what controls the chemical composition of my blood? So we go up to the next level. I say the brain is the chemist. The brain is what releases the chemistry in the blood. And then you go one more step. You say, but what chemicals should the brain release into the blood? And I go, next level up, the mind. What do you perceive? What do you see? What are you looking for? So I say, for a person, I say, here we are. I stand here. I open up my eyes and I see someone I love. Well, my mind perceives love and translates that through the brain into chemistry such as dopamine, the pleasure chemical, oxytocin, the bonding chemical, vasopressin, attractiveness, growth hormone, which enhances the growth of the cells. So when a person sees love, experiences love, the brain releases a cocktail of these wonderful chemicals. And think about it, when people are in love, they glow,
yes.
They're healthy, they have so much energy. I said, where'd they get that from? The culture medium, okay? But I say, look, same person opens their eyes, instead of seeing someone they love, they see something that scares them. I say, do you release these same chemicals in love? And I go, no. When I perceive the world as threatening, or I'm living in fear, I release stress hormones, and I release hormones that control my immune system, inflammatory agents, these things that get me ready for fight or flight. And I go, well, here's the interesting part. As I said, the fate of the cells is based on the chemistry. If I take the chemicals released by the brain in love and put it into a plastic dish with cells, the cells grow beautifully. And I say, okay, wait, what about the chemicals that come out of a brain of someone in fear? I take those chemicals, put that in the culture dish, the cells stop growing. Wow. And they get into protection. Protections close yourself down. So the idea is this: when you're in growth, you're open to the world and you say, come on, bring it on. Yeah. But when fear or something comes in there, you close it down, and the chemistry of the fear is what shuts down the cells. Fear kills, basically what it's all about. So basically it says this: we always talk about mind, body, and those strict fundamental scientists go, oh, mind, body, what's that, blah, blah, blah. And I go, it's not a mystery. It's simple. The mind is an interpretation of the world. It causes the brain to release chemistry that matches the interpretation to coordinate 50 trillion cells to live in that world. It's your emotions, it's your perceptions, it's your beliefs. These are the sources of the chemicals that end up controlling the genes. This is a new science. It's called epigenetics, because epigenetics is a revolution of all of our understanding of science for a very simple reason. When I was a professor in a medical school, we were teaching the concept of genetics. And genetics, most everybody knows, yes, we have genes, and the genes control our traits, and that we get the genes from our parents, and so therefore the traits that are running in our family are passed down to us, and sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. You know, you got diseases running in your family. Last thing you want to know, oh geez, everybody in my family got cancer. It's like, am I going to be next? Well, I got the genes. Yeah. So that's our belief system that we've been teaching, that genes control us. That makes us victims, as I said, because we didn't pick the genes as far as we know. We can't change the genes, so whatever they are, they make us. Yeah. And so people walk around going, oh, my life is, not so good, I got these genes. Epi means above. So when I say epigenetic control, I'm literally saying control above the genes. It's the environment that controls it. Well, that includes not just the real environment, but our perception of the environment, because you could live in the healthiest of environments, but if you perceive it to be a threatening world, then your cells receive the perception. They don't read the direct world. Genetic control, you're a victim because the genes control you. Epigenetics is a revolution because it says, look, if the environment or my perception controls genes, I'm the one that can change my perception. I'm the one that can change my environment. So all of a sudden, I'm not locked in. I am free to change the way I live in the world, which in turn comes back and changes the genetic readout. And this is really what's so profoundly important. For example, a lot of people talk about the placebo effect.
Yes.
And they say, well, what's the placebo effect? Well, this pill is going to cure you. It's the greatest new science in the world. And I believe that, and I take the pill and I get better, and then they tell me it was just a sugar pill. So then the truth is, well, what healed me? Well, it wasn't the sugar pill. It was the belief in the pill. So everyone says, oh yeah, placebo effect. That's how you have this wonderful thought and you get better. And I say, yeah. But here's the problem. We've only talked about the placebo effect. There's another thing called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is, what is the consequence of a negative thought? And it turns out it's equally powerful in controlling your biology and your genetics as is a placebo, positive thought.
Yeah.
So we talk about, oh yeah, placebo, good thoughts create good health and good life. And then I say, yeah, and a bad thought, a negative thought, a nocebo effect, can actually kill you. It can cause a disease. If you believe you're going to get this cancer because everyone says you're going to get this cancer, and then your perception is sending cancer thoughts into your body, the chemistry that comes from the thoughts to the brain to the body is a chemistry that doesn't support health, but it'll actually lead to your own death. So all of a sudden, it's the power of your perceptions, positive or negative, that override your genetics. Well, this is most amazing, because all of a sudden you look around and you say, but look at all those wonderful happy people, and look, they're not only just happy, they're also healthy.
Yes.
And the fact is, yes, they're sending in a chemistry that the cells will really thrive with.
Which is how we should be.
But that's our intention, isn't it? And that's what we want. But then we've been programmed to believe other people's stories about us, and this is especially true in the conventional medical world. Think about it. You're a child. What do you know about health? And the answer is this. When you're not well, the parents say, look, we got to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, daddy's sick, he has to go to the doctor, etc. Why is that relevant? Because as a child, we are learning. What are we learning? If I am sick, it's not me that takes care of my health. I go to this person called the doctor. And all of a sudden, then what I've done is I've given power over my health to the opinion of the doctor. Well, if I buy the opinion of the doctor as truth, he's the one that knows. And he says I'm going to die. He's the one that says I have this illness or I'm going to have all these problems. Then I take his belief, not my belief.
Yeah.
That becomes my perception, and I take his statement, turn it into chemistry in my head, and manifest what he said.
Yeah.
So I gave away my power to what I thought was the professional who knows better.
Doctor's orders, all that stuff.
Yeah, and we're beginning to find out a very interesting thing, is that in the conventional Western world right now, the AMA gave us what they call conservative data about what is called iatrogenic illness, which is illness related to medical treatment. Iatrogenic illness means this: I go to the doctor with problem A, I get a treatment, and then I get sick or die from problem B, which is actually the result of the treatment.
Yeah.
So it's the treatment that caused the problem. The American Medical Association published a paper that the data they gave put them that they were the third leading cause of death in the United States. There are other people that say, wait, the AMA's data is based on conservative suggestions, more or less, not the real data. So they said, give us the real data. And when they actually went down and actually selected and collected all the data about how medical involvement has been deleterious, it turns out that medicine has then become the leading cause of death in the United States today. Basically, what it really comes down to is an understanding that they were still locked into genetic control. So they're treating you as an automaton, a robot, your genes. You're sick, it's your genes that are the problem.
Yeah.
And the new biology says, no, you're the one that controls your genes. And so you can even have a mutant gene, but with a proper vision and understanding of the world, or an openness to the world, you can actually cover up the deleterious effects of a mutant gene. So all of a sudden it's like, no, we're not controlled by the genes. We're controlled by the way we respond to the world.
Yes.
Some people say, it's probably safer to walk across the motorway with a blindfold on than to go to the doctor.
Bruce, the subconscious mind, we know, it's been proven in different areas, it's a million times stronger than our conscious thoughts or our conscious mind. It's running like 90-95%, if not more, of our everyday activities. a lot of these programs in our subconscious mind are from our childhood that maybe not necessarily serving our life well. What can we do to reprogram our subconscious mind? Is there some tools or some good quick places where people can go?
Yeah, one of the most important things, because the subconscious mind really has fundamental programs of life that we acquire from our parents, our family, our community between the last trimester of pregnancy and the first 7 years. So this is why nature created the first 7 years of a child's life to download how to be a member of a family and a society and a culture by strictly observing other people. It's actually a brain function. It's a equivalent of hypnosis.
Yes.
Okay. So the fundamental programs of your subconscious are not yours. The conscious mind is yours. That's the creative mind. Well, the issue is that the conscious mind can travel in time. What are you doing next week?
Yeah.
Your mind lets go of the moment, goes to next week. What'd you do last week? Lets go of the moment, and you move into last week. Or I say, Ty, think of something in your head, and the moment you're thinking, you're not paying attention. Well, this is what the function of the subconscious comes in. When you're not paying attention, you go to autopilot. So it's not like you're walking down the street and you have a thought and then stop. Like that. No, you continue walking. Yeah, but you're not paying attention. So it's a subconscious that does all the jobs from walking to driving the car. And so why is this relevant? Because when we're not paying attention and we default to the subconscious, we play the programs that are in the subconscious. And then I go, yeah, but the programs in the subconscious are primarily not yours. They came from other people. And most of them, as psychologists tell us, most of the programs we get are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting. And the relevance about that is this: if I'm going to play those programs, then by definition, I'm going to be shooting myself in the foot. The reason why you play the subconscious programs is because the conscious mind's engaged with thinking, which is 95% of the time or more. And that means 95% of your behavior is invisible to you. And why I really wanted to emphasize this so much is this: because we believe we're victims. Oh, I really wanted to be successful. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to have a great relationship, and it's not working out.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, that was my intention, and it's not working, so therefore the world's against me. And then we go into victims like, God, I really wanted it and it didn't happen. And I just wanted people to wake up, because it basically is this: it's not the world against you at all. The world will give you everything. The issue is you're not operating from your conscious mind, except 5% at the most. And so your life is really a reflection of your subconscious programming.
Yes.
Now you say to me, well, I got programmed from the last trimester of pregnancy, first 7 years, so I was being programmed when I was 1 and 2 and 3. And I go, absolutely. And you say, but what were the programs? I wasn't there. I have no idea what the hell the programs are. And I go, here's the neat part: 95% of your life is coming from the subconscious. So all you have to do is look at your life and just look at it and say, for what? I say, what comes to you that you want and it comes to you easily, you have programs to allow that to happen. But what you struggle with, what you work hard on, what you have to put a lot of effort into, why are you working so hard? And the answer is simple: because you have an invisible program that is sabotaging you from that point. So now all of a sudden you say, well, what do I need to change? I say, well, look at your life.
Yes.
And tell me what you're having trouble with.
Yeah.
Because that's the direct expression of a program that's not supporting you. There's always been a belief that the conscious and the subconscious minds are one and the same. So if I educate my conscious mind, then my subconscious mind should automatically know what the heck I just did.
Yeah.
Right? So then I say, well, yeah, guess what? How many self-help books did you read? And I go, oh, I read all these self-help books. I say, now that you read them, did your life change? And the answer is, no, not really. But I'm really smart, because if you ask me any questions about the self-help book, I can answer it. I say, well, what's the issue? And the issue is this: the conscious mind is creative. So yeah, I could read the book. I could watch this video with you in it. I could even just go, aha, and the conscious mind could accept that and learn it. But the subconscious mind does not learn that way. And that has been the problem, because we educate the conscious minds, get really smart, and our life stays exactly the same as it is. And the issue is why? Because it doesn't translate from the conscious to the subconscious. Because the subconscious learns in, well, 3 to 4 fundamental ways. Number one, the first way it learned 7 years was hypnosis, because the brain was operating in a low vibrational frequency and just downloading what it saw. After you're 7, how do you learn? Habituation. How'd you learn the ABCs or the times table? You had to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and finally you got it, and then you know how to do it. You want to drive a car? You have to practice and practice, and then you learn how to do it. So if you want to change the subconscious mind, hypnosis is number one, that works. Number two, repetition, habituation, create a habit. And at first it seems like a struggle because it's new to the subconscious mind. But hey, you didn't learn ABCD the first time you said it, you had to do it again and again. But after you do it for a repetition period, it will be so natural that if you're not doing it, your subconscious mind go, hey, what's happening? We're not doing it. So that's really good. We overcome that. A third way, which is very, some people get it and it's very powerful, but I wouldn't recommend it, is tremendous emotional shock. Boom! Something happens in your life and it's so dramatic that after that moment, you're not going to be the same person. The subconscious got it right there, okay?
Yeah.
And the newer one and the better one is a whole new field of belief change modalities, which are also associated with what's called energy psychology.
Yes.
And these are wonderful because basically it's a form of super learning. And what's neat about it, the conventional things like hypnosis or habituation, there's a time element that takes a long time.
Yeah.
But these new belief change modalities, like a super learning experience, you can change a belief you've had your whole life, 50 years, and change it in 10 minutes. Yeah. And so this is really, it's a new type of psychology that's coming in, but it's really necessary because, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yep.
We're running into a world that has a lot of necessity to change very, very quickly. So we're really happy to see that there are ways of changing without going through all that anxiety and stress, and we can do it really quickly. My favorite one is the one that I use because I'm the most familiar with it, but there's many of them in my books. I give a whole list, but the one I use is called Psych-K, like the abbreviation of psychology.
Yeah.
It actually represents psychological kinesiology.
Yeah.
And it's an exercise where you get your right and your left brain hemispheres to work in harmony, which they don't do on a normal day-by-day basis. And when you get them to work in harmony, that's called brain synchronization, a window sort of opens up and you can drop in a new belief in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm a devotee of that because I wouldn't have written my book. I couldn't write my book. I tried for 15 years to write the book, and every time I get halfway through the book, it would peter out, and then I didn't realize it because my subconscious had a fear. At the time, was a respected scientist, and I said, well, if you write this book and you bring in consciousness and spirit into the book, all your colleagues are going to shun you. So my subconscious was doing me a favor. It says, you don't want to do this because this will invalidate you, it's like kill you. So my subconscious programming, working 95% of the day, would sabotage the writing. What I ended up doing was changing the belief about that. And then the book came out, it was just like, it just flowed right out.
Wow.
Within a few months, the whole thing was really done. It's really fun because you say, well, what if you can release these programs? And that's the story of the Matrix, where I say, well, I take the red pill, I get out of the program. And then I say, yeah, but in real life, every time we've taken the red pill, I say, what's the red pill in real life? And the answer is falling in love. Falling in love with the person, or falling in love with your creativity, or whatever it is, falling in love. Because when you fall in love, what you're doing is so captivating and so engrossing and so desirable, you don't let your conscious mind wander. So the first time in your life, your conscious mind's staying present. And I said, well, why is that important? Conscious mind, wishes, desires, and aspirations. If you're operating from that mind, you manifest your wishes and desires. So my conclusion for all of this blah, blah, blah that I'm giving you is simply this. What if you go into the subconscious mind and change the programs in the subconscious mind so they reflect the wishes and desires of your conscious mind? What would that mean? And I'll tell you what it means. You'll live in a honeymoon for every day of your life on this planet for a simple reason.
Yeah.
If my conscious mind with wishes and desires begins to wander and I default into the subconscious and is playing my wishes and desires, I never left the honeymoon.
And following on the Psych-K, you were saying something about a gentleman who gets up on stage and actually proves it with watching the actual frequencies change in the mind, right?
Well, absolutely, because a lot of people beforehand would say, oh, that's just a new age idea, and how do you know you've really changed? Just because you got finished with the belief process and you say, oh, I feel so much better, is that real? Well, now Jeff Fannin, a neuroscientist whose expertise is called brain mapping. Yeah. And he puts wires over your head and can read three-dimensionally what's going on in the brain. The moment the brain has changed, the program has changed, you can see it on the screen. So he generally puts like a person up on the stage and puts the wires on and says, okay, now we tested your belief and you don't have a belief in this, and now let's put in the new belief. And it's interesting because the audience can see the change before the person actually says, yes, now it's done. This may be a few seconds, but the audience can see it. So why is this important? important because this sounds miraculous. Yes, you mean you can change your beliefs in 5 or 10 minutes?
And see the results, like,
but you can
instant.
see it instantly. Actually, you can experience it instantly if it's a phobia, for a simple reason. Because a phobia is a certain stimulus, like height, or I'm afraid of spiders, or I'm afraid of dogs. Then I say, okay, good, let's go through the belief change. You come out and I say, well, how am I afraid of spiders now? I can show you instantly. Here's a spider. And all of a sudden, you know, 10 minutes before, it freaks you out. Now it's like, oh, all of a sudden your complete biology changes. So you can see that.
That's it.
But a lot of people's beliefs involve something dynamic. They have to do with relationship to others and people or jobs. So they actually have to go out and then they look back and go, whoa, this is so different than it was before. Most people's stresses are not real immediate emergency stresses at all. They're beliefs of a fear. That they won't have something, they won't have a job, they won't have food, they won't have a friend. And it's not that they don't have them right now, they're thinking about, oh, if that happens, and that's where the stress comes from. And that's why 90% of the people are in fear, because they recognize that their future is uncertain, but rather than seeing it in a positive way, they have a you know, this image of a negative thing.
Work it all out. And
it's really interesting because, remember, when you fall in love and you get out of the programming, you create heaven on earth. Well, if it wasn't for the programming, everybody would have heaven on earth.
Yes.
So if we can change the programming, then heaven on earth is available to anyone. If you take a tuning fork, you have 2 tuning forks and they're tuned to the same frequency, you hit one tuning fork, the other one vibrates as well, because the vibration from one is the same resonance, harmony of the other one. And so that's called harmonic resonance, where 2 things vibrate at the same vibrational frequency. And so what's interesting about that is the brain takes in data. But the other thing that people don't know is the brain is broadcasting that data back out. So I say, oh yeah, I can put wires on your head and read your brain activity. And I go, yeah, and people, well, that's just a connection to the skin. There's a new way of reading brains. It's not, the one with wires is called electroencephalograph, electric reading of the brain. The new one is called magnetoencephalograph. So it's reading the magnetic fields generated by the brain. But here's what's critical. The probe isn't even touching the head. The probe is out here. Yes. What's the point? The point is this. Your brain is a tuning fork. If I send out a bad vibration, a bad vibe, it's not going to resonate with anything that's good out there. If there's something out there that has the same vibration as the bad vibe, which is really the image of the bad vibe, it will cause that to move, just like 2 tuning forks, right?
Yes.
So, interesting point. What comes into my life not by accident, but through harmonic resonance. What I'm sending out, I will bring back in. So if I'm afraid, then guess what? I find reasons to be afraid of. They find me, actually, because I'm broadcasting that frequency. So then you say, well, what's the resolution? The answer is, you're the one that's broadcasting the frequency. Recognizing I'm in a moment of fear and go, wait, stop. I'm the one that can push the stop button and say, I'd rather think of something different.
Yes.
And when you do, it's the most fabulous thing in the world, because now you're the one that says, I'm not a victim of these things that I was attributing to other people. I'm the one that's creating it. Well, if you're the one that's creating it, then you're the one that can change the creation to anything you really want. Go out there and love the world, and it will feed you all this stuff. Wow. And that is the nature of heaven, is to what? Go out and experience this planet.
That's so cool, Bruce. Thank you so much.
Ty, babe.
You're such a your life's work. All right, folks, we've run out of time. Bruce Lipton has given us so much beautiful information, so much stuff has passed through us. We've got these 2 wonderful books, The Biology of Belief and The Honeymoon Effect. If you read these books and make them become part of you, do the work on your subconscious mind, get the negative energy out of your body, and really, think about it all the time. If you do that and you really commit to it, folks, you can be, do, and have anything you want. You can be so much more than you are, and you can have love and that honeymoon effect in your life at all times. Thank you so much. I believe in you. Bruce believes in you. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.